Hello, I'm back. Have you ever wondered if the planet we live on is truly unique? Or if somewhere, out there, another world exists, running parallel to ours? A place where faces mirror our own, like perfect copies. Yet their souls move in the opposite direction. I used to ask myself the same thing, but then I realized you don't need a parallel world when our own society quietly shelters beings like that. At first glance, they look just like us, but their hearts, their very blood, seem forged from something darker, something demonic. Today, I'll expose one of those creatures hiding in plain sight. So step carefully. Every move you make is taking you deeper into the fog of a shadowed world, where monsters survive by wearing human masks. Before we dive in, make sure you're ready. Hit like, share, and subscribe. Your small signal that you're prepared to stare into the darkness with me. Are you ready? All right, let's begin. Do you love your mother? You've got 3 seconds to drop your answer in the comments. Whoa. Looks like opinions are all over the place. As for me, I do love my mom. She's the one who showed me warmth, the one who made me feel safe. But I think I can guess why some of you said no. Most of the time, it's because of the scolding, the yelling, or even the unfair slaps you've taken. Here's the thing, though. You're luckier than you think. At least, you're luckier than the boy in the story I'm about to tell. From now on, and for the rest of eternity, no one will ever scold him or hit him again. Hold your anger for a second. I know what you're thinking. You're wondering, if no one hurts him anymore? Isn't that a good thing? Why would we be luckier than he is? The answer is simple. Because he's dead.
32-year-old Tiffany Lucas, who had a history of jail time after spending a month behind bars for drug possession. One day last week, her neighbor was pulling into his driveway and saw Tiffany walk down the front stairs of her porch before collapsing. She told him her kids were dying, and when he went into the house, he found the 2 boys in a bedroom and a gun on the bed. On Ring doorbell footage that hasn't been released to the public, 4 shots can be heard in 30 seconds before Tiffany walks out of the house. Despite being shot in the head, the boys were alive when they arrived at the hospital. They were rushed into surgery, but ultimately died from their injuries. When questioned, Tiffany said she was, quote, in such a bad spot, and that the shooting was an accident, and reportedly said she was being manipulated through Facebook or the internet or through Wi-Fi. She was emotionless when the judge set her bail at $2 million. The family thinks substance abuse also played a role.
In shooting competitions, as long as the bullet hits the target, you get the points. And applause usually follows. But the woman in this story also hit her target, and no one felt joy or excitement. Instead, we were left horrified. A young boy was gone forever, and a human soul had rotted beyond recognition, foul, putrid, and repulsive. Will she ever regret what she's done? Or would she repeat that same cruel act if she had the chance? No one knows what that demon is thinking. All we know is that it must pay for the devastation it caused. Warning, the stories ahead will only grow darker. Darker than anything you can imagine. So hit the like button. I'll be here to keep you safe,
This father, who murdered his 2 teenage daughters because they started dating, finally had his first interview in prison and denied everything and said it was all a conspiracy. I went over this case and his recent interview on my YouTube channel if you want to check it out. On New Year's in 2008, 18-year-old Yaser Said used her last breath to call police and let them know that her dad had just shot her and she was dying. Beside her was her deceased older sister Amina, who was also shot by their father. But this didn't just happen out of nowhere. Growing up, these 2 girls endured a lot of abuse from their father. When they were 7 and 8 years old, they told their mother that their father was essaying them. But eventually nothing happened and the case got dropped. Things only got worse as they got older. Their father became more controlling and perverted. Their father would follow them and take videos of them everywhere they went, especially when they went to work. At one point, he took Amina to Egypt to try to marry her off to an older man, but luckily that didn't go through. But one day, he lost it when he found out that his daughters were dating and he threatened to take their lives. At this point, the girls were fed up, terrified, and decided to run away with their mother. But taking their mother with them wasn't the best decision because eventually Patricia wanted to go back to Yaser. She then promised Amina and Sarah that nothing would happen if they returned home, but that wasn't the case. The girls were convinced that their father was going to eventually take their lives, so they left a lot of evidence, including emails and letters to teachers about what was going on at home. When they went home, their father offered to take them out to talk and resolve things, but on January 1st, 2008, he shot them multiple times while they sat in the back of his taxi. Yaser fled for 12 years, but now that he's been in prison for 4 years, he still denies taking his daughter's lives. Throughout this recent interview, he gets frustrated and blames the FBI for pinning the murders on him and says that all the evidence against him isn't true.
Who could have believed that he would shoot his own child? What was supposed to be a reconciliation turned into a slaughter. A so-called peace talk, drowned in screams and splattered with blood. For their entire childhood, the 2 girls were trapped in a cage of abuse and suffocating control, like fragile birds with clipped wings. Everyone has the right to pursue love. It's as natural as breathing, something society embraces. Everyone except that father. His anger twisted, then festered, then finally broke free. Each stage another step in a grim evolution that stripped away his human mask and revealed the demon lurking beneath. The cruelty is escalating. The next story will shake you to your core, leaving you terrified, suspicious of the very society around you. So before we continue, make sure your heart is still beating strong, because I can't promise it will keep the same steady rhythm once you hear what comes next. Tell me, do you know which number is said to belong to the devil? Comment below before I reveal it. Your time starts now. The answer is 666, a number drenched in death. And the story you're about to hear is bound to it, because the killer at the center of this case wasn't just a man. He was a demon in human skin, slaughtering 6 of his own family members.
This man was sentenced to 360 years in prison for killing 6 of his family members after having an argument about his curfew. Raymond Childs III had taken his father's vehicle without permission the night before the murders. When he returned home after midnight, his father let him know he was in trouble and that he would be punished later. Raymond did not want to be punished, so he decided to kill everybody in the house. The 17-year-old gunned down his stepmom Kezzy and father Raymond Childs II. He gunned down his brother and sister, 18-year-old Elijah and 13-year-old Rita. He even killed Elijah's pregnant girlfriend Kiara Hawkins and her near-term baby. While Raymond worked his way through the home, his 15-year-old brother Xavier tried to flee and save himself, but Raymond chased him. Xavier begged him to stop and even offered him $44 to let him live, but Raymond shot him anyway. Fortunately, Xavier survived and managed to run to a neighbor's house where he called the police. Raymond was found guilty, but he refused to apologize, claiming he is innocent despite his brother testifying against him and being arrested with the murder weapon. Raymond and Xavier's biological mother also believes that Raymond is innocent and claims that Xavier is lying. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments.
Absolutely horrifying. No ordinary human could or would ever commit such a savage act. What do you think? Is he guilty? I don't know about every detail, but there's one thing both I and everyone else can agree on. Those 6 innocent lives will never get another chance to live. 360 years? That's no small number. Even if he somehow mastered resurrection, dying and coming back again, he would still owe every breath of 3 lifetimes to the walls of a cell. He deserves that punishment. To live out his days steeped in regret, rotting in darkness, reeking like the very stench of his own corrupted soul. As always, the final story is the darkest of all. The one that cranks the level of cruelty to its absolute peak. And of course, only the bravest hearts make it to the end. If you're one of them, hit like and share this video. We've heard so many stories about parents murdering their own children, and while they're horrifying, they still aren't the most merciless or cold-blooded acts imaginable. The next story is about a child who turned on their own parents, slaughtering them without hesitation. Warning, this one is so savage, it forces us to redefine the meaning of cold-blooded. So steel yourself. The story begins in 3, 2, 1.
If you follow true crime, you've probably heard of 17-year-old Sarah Grace Patrick, now charged with the murders of her mother and stepfather, Kristen and James Brock. Back in February, Sarah Grace called 911 reporting that her 6-year-old sister found the couple dead from gunshot wounds in their bedroom. What makes this case even more chilling? Before her arrest, Sarah was posting on TikTok, pleading for help to find the killer and sharing reward flyers. Screenshots from her TikTok and alleged DMs show Sarah reaching out to true crime creators, urging them to cover the case and help bring justice for her parents. Some of the messages were described as calculated and disturbing. Then came the twist. Just days ago, Sarah turned herself in to the Carroll County Sheriff's Department. Police say they have a mountain of digital evidence, though it's unclear if other arrests will follow. Her TikTok account is still live, and this case is far from over. Follow for updates. This story is unbelievable.
Oh my gosh. I'm almost speechless after hearing that story. The case may still be unresolved, but one truth is undeniable. That couple will never come back to life, unless immortality or a resurrection potion exists. Every piece of evidence points to her as the killer, yet she's still walking free, untouched by the law. How tragic for them. They gave birth to and raised a monster for years without realizing it. By the time they finally saw the monster's face, it was already too late. The price of glimpsing the true face of evil is death. That will never change. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss the next story. Bye.